Hello and welcome to the Growing Healthy Families podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Scott Haggerty. On this show, I interview the world's top health experts so that you can know with certainty what it takes to give your family a life of epic health and wellness.
As parents, we don't want to see our kids struggle. I knew that he had the potential, and I knew that something needed to be done.
It was hard. We would get frustrated. We didn't know how to deal with it. I was more emotional about it.
That, we're here. Amen to that, brother. Amen to that. Hi, moms and dads. This is Dr. Scott Haggerty, and welcome back to the Growing Healthy Families podcast. Moms and dads, I am super excited to bring this episode to you today because I get to be here with an amazing elite mom who is here to share her story about some awesome things that she has seen in her family. So I'm super excited here to dig in so that we can talk with Jill about what she's seen and her experiences with her own family. Jill, thank you so much for being here today.
You're very welcome.
So first and foremost, we're super excited to have you on. And I thank you for being willing to go and share your story and what your family has seen here with our practice. So moms and dads, so as we dig in here, what we're going to do is we're going to talk a lot about some of the things that they've seen, and we're going to really dig deep into what her experience has been, what her family has seen, and as we start rolling through here, Jill, I'd love for you just to take some time and just talk to the moms and dads and tell them about what your family has seen. So first and foremost, let's start. When you were looking for, when you found us, what health challenges were you experiencing in your home and your family?
Well, my daughter was experiencing emotional behavior problems and just at times had just an explosive personality. We never really knew what was going to set her off, and things that should be little became big deals. And she quite often overreact to situations, and you think just like, is this really age appropriate? And it was just causing some issues, and so to say, the straw that broke the camel's back is when the school sent home a letter from a survey stating that she was at risk for emotional behavior problems.
How long had this been going on in your home?
Well, it probably peaked at age 2 and kept on rolling until age 6 and 7, and I just always thought, well, she'll mature, things will get better, or it's just the terrible twos, or she's a teenager, and then we had a new baby and it was adjusting to a sibling, and I just always brushed it off as a stage, and it just didn't improve, and I was anxious and eager to try anything that would help her.
So you saw these challenges developing in school. What were the teachers, besides the fact that she was at risk for developing the emotional behavioral challenges, what kind of feedback, what was she experiencing at school? What were they seeing that kind of led up to this?
Well, I always thought she had a touch of ADHD, just always need to be in action. It seemed like I always had to tear or wear her out just to have her livable. Like, gosh, this kid needs a lot of exercise. And that's normal for a child, I understand that. But it's just coupled with the ADHD and the explosive personality, it just was awkward sometimes when at that age that she was overreacting to things that really weren't big deals.
So would you mind giving an example of some things that you would say like she would overreact to?
Like, hey, it's time to start getting ready for bed. You got to stop playing. And, be kicking up her legs, and no, I don't want, just like, this isn't a new concept. We get ready for bed every day. And, or, like when a favorite shirt wasn't clean, and working through just like, you can wear another shirt, it's okay, or and the thing that we reference often in my family, if there wasn't purple socks clean, that was another trigger. Like, gosh, we're going to buy you a dozen pair of these socks just to have that emotional breakdown put at bay. So,
oh my goodness, I'm sure a lot of the moms and dads that are watching this can relate to this.
And if you can, please follow up with Dr. Scott. This is an amazing story.
Well, she really, she's made some really amazing changes. But, let's talk about, as you're going through this process and you're starting to have some awareness that there's some potential issues that are developing in school. What had you looked into? What did you try to help to curb her behaviors and her emotional issues?
Well, honestly, one day after a real bad emotional issue and overreacting, that evening, or it was early evening when the Cleveland Clinic was still open, I walked up to the check-in area of that department and said, gosh, I need an appointment for this girl sooner than 3 months, thinking that there was something perhaps legitimately wrong and why she was acting like this. I checked out the best parenting books. We did actually see a psychiatrist, and she didn't test as ADHD. And just said, okay, let's go to this seminar, check out this parenting book. And, that we did. Did it really help? I mean, it gave me some good ideas, but it didn't make any of the issues go away. So
it sounds like you tried quite a few things trying to help to improve your daughter's quality of life without a lot of results. Would that be correct?
yes.
So when you first became aware of our practice, how did you learn about us first?
I saw a Facebook video, and it was concerned a child that was angry, defiant, and had constant meltdowns, and the changes that the boy experienced after receiving care. And I said, gosh, I am willing to try anything.
So at what point in time did you then decide that this was going to be the action, the road that you were going to go down? Had you gone to a workshop, or had you just come in for an appointment?
I just signed up and said, this is what we're doing.
I'm glad that you did. I'm glad that you did. So when you got started, we went through the history, we went through the exam process, and we did the consult. At what point did you decide that you were going to give care a try and make the decision that you wanted to see where this was going to go?
As I recall, I got the results of the scan, took them home, talked with my husband, and we moved forward.
So when you guys started into care, about how long was it before you started to notice there was some positive changes in your daughter?
It seemed like, honestly, after the first adjustment, something just changed. It's like she just took a deep breath, and I can't even describe how amazing that was. And then we were going 3 times a week, and within a week, I can tell that my daughter was different, more agreeable, happier, wasn't ready to fight. I mean, it was a challenge just waking her up in the morning, because you open the door just like, what kind of mood are you going to be in today? So the effects of care really were evident early on.
That's great. So when you started seeing some of these changes, and I know we talk a lot about, even during the beginning of care, that it's going to be some ups and downs. Did you experience some of the ups and downs, what we call the neurobehavioral detox?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it didn't magically get better. I mean, there are some hot nights, As I even recall asking him, just like, is this getting a little worse before it gets better? And it did, but the peak of the worst doesn't even compare to how good it got and is, and getting a little emotional just thinking of the change that our family's been through with this. And I will say to you, face to face, you are an amazing human being.
Thank you.
For how you've changed our household dynamic by treating my daughter.
It's been completely my pleasure, just so you know that. I mean, I know I've said it to you many times, but they're an absolute joy to have here in the practice. They're just such great kids, and I love their energy and their personality.
And I must also commend you how you treat kids. I mean, just as if they are your own. I mean, that's the care and passion that Dr. Scott has for these kids that, he sees. I mean, we're here a lot, we get to know each other, but it's the authenticity of his care. I mean, it's amazing.
Thank you. That means a lot to me, more than you can ever imagine. I mean, I don't even know what to say. Caught me off guard on that one. But it's such a privilege to get a chance to go and see the changes here, even just what we see with day to day. But for the moms and dads that are watching, a lot of them, probably sitting there saying, "Is this something that can really happen for my child? Can this type of a change really happen?" So I know you talked about a lot of the struggles that you were seeing with the emotional dysregulation, the explosive temperament, the focus and attention issues. What's life like today at home?
Well, I can say that she can independently start her homework on her own. She helps out. She helps out around the house with her brother. She gets along better with her brother. She is sweeter, more calm. And she, but of course, can better self-regulate her emotions. Mm-hmm. We don't need to fly off the handle, just like, oh, okay, like a workaround. Like even last night, she was coloring something and went to tear the paper out of the book, and it ripped about 3 inches. Mm-hmm. Which last year, before care, gosh, that would have, my paper, mm-hmm. Just crying, just basically falling out that the paper ripped. Mm-hmm. Last night when it ripped, I can tape it. Oh, okay, how sensible.
That's awesome. That's a tremendous change. Yeah. And it's crazy little things like that. You think about those, that something so small just a short time ago could have been such a big trigger, and it's so awesome when you can see they can just transition and move on.
Yes, that is amazing.
That's very, very cool. And so we talked about school too. So obviously that was something where that was a big trigger for you with the note home from school. So now how have things transitioned in school?
Well, with me thinking it was ADHD or, just not regulating emotions, I don't know what prompted the issue, but she fell behind in reading. Mm-hmm. And she was in the reading help program, and I'm just saying this, I think it's correlated that within a month after care, starting a new grade, oops, you don't need any more reading help. Is that correlated? I think so, because she can better focus, get her mind on the homework, get her mind on the teacher, not be distracted by things. Just like, oh, I'm at school. Okay, let's focus on school.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's a huge change when you start thinking about being able to go from having issues with focusing and paying attention and self-directing at school to being able to lock in and make those kind of improvements that fast. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, a page of math homework used to be like pulling teeth. Yeah. Just like, let's do your homework. No! But this was my life. I'm not making this up. I have this script, but this is real life. I should know this firsthand, and that's why I'm saying that the changes have been very significant.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And moms and dads, if you're watching, I know that you know what this is all about, because I'm sure the vast majority of people watching this, at least to some degree of experience this, in some cases probably equally. And it's tremendous when you can think about this didn't require medicine. It didn't require going through a bunch of different therapies. It was literally just helping her nervous system to do what it was capable of doing, which was calm down. And it's so awesome when you can watch a kid's not just outward but inward behaviors, the way that they can emotionally change and focus and attention. All those things can come in because in so many cases, little kids are dealing with this background noise of stress that they can't change, and they don't understand why it's happening, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, how many times have you sat there and thought, why can't you just turn the page? Why can't you just, right? And we as moms and dads sit there and think, my goodness, this shouldn't be happening. But when you start looking at the changes and you start watching the brain calm down, you start seeing things become more the new way, right? Because their brain learns how to operate in a more efficient manner and the way that it should. How cool is it when you can just look at it and be like, wow, this is where we were to this is where we are now.
It's pretty cool, Dr. Scott.
That's awesome. Cool. That's awesome. So Obviously we've been down the road together here a good little ways. So spent quite a bit of time, working on making these changes and building momentum and helping her to be able to develop a better quality of life. But there was probably a time back when you first started care when you had a million questions running through your head. And so if you could, when the day that you're sitting back in the report of findings room and we're sitting there talking, and if you could speak to yourself at that moment in time, what would you say to yourself?
I'd say, how on earth did you not find out about this pediatric chiropractor sooner? I mean, I had never heard of it. You go to the chiropractor when you have an injury, fall off a roof, need adjusted. I didn't know that a pediatric chiropractor that focused on like autism, ADHD, emotional dysregulation, I didn't know that existed. So I would say to myself, why didn't you find out about this sooner?
That's awesome. So moms and dads, if this is you and you're sitting there thinking about what you can do to try and improve your child's quality of life, think about what she said. That there may be things going on that you're not aware of. There could be things that can be helped that don't require the use of medicines, or, if you're finding you've tried other things and they haven't responded, check it out. So you may be surprised at how much your child can change, and as Jill mentioned, sometimes faster than what you'd anticipate. It's a process. It's a process of helping a child's brain to rewire and refire and develop new patterns of behavior. And we deal with this concept of learned behaviors versus reflexive behaviors. And it's really important when you consider that if a child's nervous system has developed with the only place that they're developing and perceiving the world from is a position of stress, we're going to get stress output. And so what we have to do is we have to help a child's brain to calm down, because a child's brain can't have new learned behaviors if you can't change the way the brain perceives the world. And so this is what we talked about during today's session, is that the brain has to be able to calm down, and it has to be able to slow down, and it has to have an ability to perceive things differently for changes in focus and attention and behavior and emotional regulation. Because for those of us as adults, it's sometimes very difficult for us to visualize where they're at. Understanding that in many cases, a lot of the kids that we're seeing today, they've been stuck in stress mode, sometimes from in utero, sometimes from as early as labor and delivery. And when all you perceive the world as is from a position of being stuck in stress mode, right? We call it fight or flight. If stress is all that you've ever experienced, then stress is all we're ever going to get out. And at the earliest, most formative stages of development, if that's what they're experiencing, then it's not unexpected that kids would have issues with emotional dysregulation like your daughter did, or issues with focus and attention like so many kids are dealing with. And so when the brain starts to refire and rewire, we can start seeing momentum be built so the brain can calm down, and we can reestablish better behaviors and better school habits and better focus and attention, because now the brain is doing what it was intended to from the very beginning, is calming down, reconnecting, and working the way that it was supposed to. So, moms and dads, I thank you so much for spending time with us. Jill, thank you so much for spending time with us today and sharing your story. I think that moms and dads here are going to get tremendous value from what you shared. And so I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Moms and dads, make sure that you subscribe to the podcast. If you have questions, or if there's something we can do to help you relating to your own child, make sure that you put a comment in here or send us a message directly. If this is something that you found value in, do us a favor and rate us on iTunes or wherever you're watching this podcast or listening to this podcast. This is Dr. Scott with the Growing Healthy Families Podcast. God bless you guys. Be elite.
Thank you for listening to the Growing Healthy Families Podcast, the world's #1 source for health education. Make sure to go to iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts and give us a review. Make sure to follow us on social media at the links listed in the show notes, and let us know what area of health you are struggling with, so we can get you and your family on the road to epic health.